Five on the left, two on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace.
Freedom.
And justice.
Allah
is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my
salvation.
By night. And by day. His holy prophet. Noble Jew Ali. Islam. Let's start with our readings to be read every meeting. A warning from the Prophet. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speeches while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. And if the Prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The Prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their Prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the Prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and the uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the last few years. Islam. Today's Correcting Black History Month session is with a good brother, Professor Denham L. He's been a student of the Moorish movement for a few years, for a good little while.
It gets hot, and then when it's done, okay? So if you want to,
we've done Skypes with him before. If you haven't seen anything, you can check Canaanland Moors on YouTube. Skype with Denham L. His area of expertise is martial sciences. He's a martial arts instructor, as well as deals with the divine aspect of the Moorish movement, more so than the national side. And the class today is going to be getting into why divine was put before national in the scope of the Moorish movement, as we know that it's called the Moorish Divine and National Movement. He's going to be dealing with that. But before we get there, we know that there was somebody new that came today that had some questions. So we just wanted you to put those questions up, and then maybe a few people could bounce some answers off you as well. But just put your name on the record.
Brother from Bowmanville, he called me this morning, said he was coming down. I've been doing some studying. He wanted to ask some questions, so I felt it was good to give him to show the appreciation that he's taking that time to travel. His name is Carl.
Yes, yes. So,
Affirmation.
so I just I've been talking to a few people about the movement. I respect the movement. I understand the movement, but I just had some questions regarding the identification cards and like some of the challenges that you guys might be facing with the government here. Is there any challenges that you guys are going through when it comes down to the oppression, or?
Well, first of all, we have to qualify and clarify that the people that we see out there that we've termed government are really private corporations.
Yes.
And all of them are, well, the ones out here at least are working under the jurisdiction of the so-called Queen in England, right? When we talk about the issues that we're facing with them, more so it's because of us waking up why we're facing issues, not that we're doing something wrong or that we shouldn't be doing what we're doing. A lot of people's perspective is that, oh, something must be wrong with that, that's why they're fighting them, or why they're challenging Moors when they present their nationality card and stuff like that. But the reality is that the impact that this has on their infrastructure is what is the issue for them.
Yeah.
So we look at we use Noble Drew Ali as a reference because in the early 1900s he was doing this work, and one of the most important things that he did at that time was started to issue nationality cards to Asiatics in America, so that they have something tangible that they can present when somebody tries to classify them as Negro, black, colored, right? Which in our studies we realize that those terms are not really identities that we should be using. In the literature, we'll give you some stuff when you leave. In some of the Moorish literature, we're taught that Negroes are four-legged beasts, which we're not that. We're taught that when we study etymology, we're taught that the etymology of the word black is pale, which we're not that. We're taught that the descendants of Africa have a lot to give to the world, but the descendants of Africa were never classified as Africans because people aren't continents, right? So it knocks that out. And colored has two perspectives. The walls in here are colored, right? And from a law perspective, colored is something that's fake or artificial or a semblance, not real. So these terms that we've embraced and have become accustomed to using were actually causing us to be in a status of civiliter mortuus, or civilly dead, or not having any rights that's respected by anybody. So the purpose of us having the nationality card trumps their position, because they want, in order for them to rule, we have to be those statuses. We have to be those names that they called us. Now you're gonna get other people who say, well, European called us Moors, that's where that came from. But we go with the master teachers, and one of our master teachers, Dr. Ben, who has a doctorate in Moorish history, told us that we called ourselves that. That's not something that somebody put on us. And when you look into ancient Egypt, there's a book called the Hieroglyphic Dictionary by a man by the name of E. Wallace Budge, and in that book they have Moor, M-A-U-R, in that book, and that Moor was the name of the high priest of Egypt. That's what they were. The high priests of Anu were called Moor, M-A-U-R. So we got M-O-O-R, got M-A-U-R. Our brother Sheldon L. went to Germany, brought this back. Then that's M-O-H-R, in the German language, right? If you check the wall artifacts, there's some people up there that say Moro, not Filipino, right? So there's all these different reference points that we can use to prove that this is not some European thing that we're gravitating to. You know what I mean? People are gonna see the Fez and say, oh yeah, Turks or whatever like that, but the origin of the Fez comes from Fez, Morocco. And then if you even go further than that, they're gonna say that, you know, even Canaan, they had Fezes in Canaan. They had Fezes in Babylon. Phoenicians had Fezes, and you know what I mean? So it's not this modern idea of you know, trying to cling to something the European made of it. It's, you know, what Noble Drew Ali did was tie us back to our ancient culture, customs, history that we were told European took away from us during slavery, right? Which that is a whole other myth in itself. That's why we do these particular classes in February, to put more information out there about for our people, opposed to just the common theme of February and slavery and, you know, studying slave stuff. You know what I mean? We're beyond slaves. You know what I mean? Our impact on the world is monumentous if you ask people in the world. If you ask regular, average Negro, black, colored people, they have no idea how vast their history is, because they've been taught to think that their history is just this pocket.
Right.
Right.
In school, right?
Right. Right. Anybody else have anything to add on with regard to the nationality card and
Well, me, I'm Rennie Bay for the record. The experience that I've got with me using my nationality card out there is, it's you have to know it up here first. You know, it's not the card that saves you. You know, because you can have the card and go anywhere, and you know what I'm saying. And the knowledge has to be up here first to apply it, to how to use it, what those numbers mean. You know, why you're not taxed, and you know what the clauses in the treaties. You know why. You know, you have to have it up here first. The experiences I've got using it at different locations, I mostly went to Chinese locations. They have no problem honoring who I am is with my nationality, because they are well aware of who I am and who the Moors are.
Yeah.
Most Arabs. Recently, I went to an Arab pizza shop, and the guy acknowledged I didn't have my fez on, but I had a toucan with the flag, a Moorish pin. And he recognized, he was asking me what that, you know, because he's aware of what the green 5-pointed star represents and whatnot. And he was talking about the Ottoman Empire, and he was interested, and I was showing him I'm not taxed, and he asked me if I even want to see the card.
Yeah.
You know, because from my perspective, when I was speaking to him, I was getting into the history with him. He didn't even want to see the card, you know, because it's up here, you know. That's what it is, not the card. And having the card doesn't save you, you know.
Know the knowledge first.
Yeah.
Right. And just to tie that together with what Grant Sheik said, definitely what Brother Rennie said, the knowledge is first and foremost. You gotta know it, you know what I mean? And when you take the perspective that Cujo presented, which is the proper perspective, and it's not denied either, right? So the government, the perspective of the government, so-called, as de facto, the corporation, right? That is not a hidden thing, right? That's a fact that they say, yes, we are a corporation, right? Therefore, these are corporations that this brother has gone to as well. They're numerous. I've gone to many. We've all gone. We can show you examples, different ones, not the same one, different ones. These governments happen to be another corporation, right? And so they're just one of many, right? In the category of corporations that do business, right? In the public sphere. So, you know, Walmart, Arab pizza store, shoe store, wherever, it seems to me like the majority of them acknowledge this, and it's only this small minority that may or may not acknowledge it, sometimes give you hassle, sometimes do acknowledge it. Or acknowledge it without openly acknowledging it. So in reality, to me, it's like, yeah, there's an obstacle, yeah, there's a struggle, but it's a very minor struggle compared to things that people go through in life.
Right.
So that's just my perspective, right?
I just want to add on to what the other brother said is that from coming into this movement and learning so much and comparing what I've learned in the modern European schools and the colonialism, I've come to the conclusion I have two choices. Either I am a slave or I am no, for real, I've come to either I'm a slave or I have or I'm superior to what I've been told that I am. And coming into this movement, one of the things I've recognized is that the divine aspect, as far as the first step into this movement or in anything, because if you look at all Aboriginal and Indigenous people in the world, they always tie themselves to the invisible power of Allah or whatever they call themselves. So once you get into that line, once you tap into the divine, everything else will fall in line. Because the modern Europeans know about that stuff. They practice, they make the attempt to be like us by practicing our ancient history and our customs and so on and so forth. But when we tap into it, it just becomes innate. It just becomes automatic. So I think when you come into this, the first thing you have to just consider, it's not about the cards, it's not about the paperwork, it's about just making this an internal and just coming out of you, like just blowing up from the inside out. Because when you start thinking about paperwork and the cards and all that stuff, and you know, I need to get this signed and so on and so forth, you start relying on your exterior as opposed to going deep within. You know, like, and that's the thing that I've realized in coming here. It's like when I come in here, I'm dealing with the internal aspect of coming out of my own cocoon. So you have to focus on the divine first, because it's a divine and national movement. And whether it be you meditate, you pray, or you just contemplate, everything comes from within you. And one of the things I really, really admire with the Prophet is that he drives that point home. You know, everything's about Allah, and then when you start realizing who Allah is in the physical world, you know, you start looking at your mother differently, start looking at women differently. So the whole point of the game, it's about your divinity, your spiritualness, and your spirituality. And once you've mastered that and begin to like go into that side, everything else just falls in line. Because you like literally start walking on water. Literally, like it's hard to explain, because you know, and then I start realizing when the Prophet says can't be told in words. You can't explain a metamorphosis, you can't explain a change like this, because it's nothing like we've ever gone through before. You know, so it's just tapping the divine aspect of it first. Like go hard into the Quran, the Circle 7, like, and
So
just
the Quran, the Circle 7 is different from like the other Quran that Muslims use.
Yeah.
It's two different books.
right,
Yeah.
but they complement each other.
Complement.
Like once you, it's kind of like when I started going into the Circle 7, like I started going back into the Bible, because I came up from the Christian aspect. You know, that's what I've been indoctrinated with. And you start seeing things differently. You know, you start looking at words differently. Start realizing, okay, well, there's the Lord God, and then there's God. And then there's, you know, this individual who's supposed to be evil, the snake, and not realizing like the snake is something totally different, you know. So it's just, you know, you go hard on the spiritual aspect of it, and things will, you start hearing voices, man. Like, it sounds kind of messed up for people outside of our circle, outside of our nation who tap into it, but you hear voices. Like, you start seeing things differently. The same things you look at, you know, in your old self, you look at it again, it's just like, you see things, man. So it just really like, you know, don't like go hard into your internal self.
I had another question about the reincarnation. I was looking online on Wikipedia. I don't know if that's a reliable source for something like this, but
Definitely
it was saying something about reincarnation, and that, you know, when somebody dies, they can go back into somebody else. That spirit can go into somebody else. So, for example, for Noble Drew Ali, somebody else was his right hand man. He said that he was like Jesus and reincarnated. Can you clarify all that with me, or?
A way to look at it is that it's really not the individual. It's about the principles.
The principles.
The principles is what transcend time.
Yes.
Not, you know, this man, and then in this man there's a spirit, and then the spirit left that guy, went into that guy. No, that guy is the guy. It's actually the principles, what was taught. So when you look at, and then that's why Noble Drew Ali laid out the different prophets, right? So you're gonna go study Buddha. When you study Buddha, you find out he said same thing like what Confucius said. Then Confucius said the same thing that Yahshua or Jesus said. Jesus said the same thing that Muhammad said. Muhammad said the same stuff that Noble Drew Ali said. And Noble Drew Ali is saying same stuff that monks in Tibet say. And then monks in Tibet say the same stuff that the Hindu people say. Then the Hindu people say it, and then you realize that all of this is really one. There's no different religions and all that stuff. It's all just one concept, split up into, you know, different factions or whatever. Everybody taking a piece, trying to claim that their little piece is the all and be all. When the all and be all is when all these pieces actually come together.
Yeah, connect.
You know, but then if that happens, then you end all the wars on the planet. You end famine. You end suffering. You end all, and certain people don't want that because, you know, it's big money to have wars, and it's big money for people to be struggling and having debt and things like that, right? So, yes, there is, and then the other aspect, if a spirit was going to come back through somebody else, it's going to come through a child. It's not going to come through an adult. If somebody says reincarnate, if they bring up the term reincarnate or incarnate, it's not going to happen. An adult leaves an adult body to go in an adult body.
What happened to that body's spirit that was there before the new one transferred over?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like how is a spirit gonna come into somebody that's already housed?
Fight.
There's gonna be a fight. You know what I mean? Because two spirits can't house in the same body. Somebody's gonna have to get evicted. Right? You know what I mean? So yeah, go ahead.
What I was gonna say, even the fact that you got as far as principles, like when I heard the story of the different splinter groups, to me it didn't make sense. As far as, you know, why would the prophet come back into a grown adult, like Grand Sheik said, and then change his whole game? Like, he's going this way, and then all of a sudden he's in a new body and went that way. That doesn't make sense. If you line up a mission, you're coming in and you're on a divine level, spiritual level, and something happens and you go to the next level, it doesn't make sense to come back and then change your whole game up. You put in how many years of work and you told the people to follow this line, follow these instructions, and then you come back and you twist everything up. So now you're confusing your whole mission. So right there and then didn't make sense to me, because it was like, now I'm turning everybody against each other. One group going over here, one group going over there, one group over there. It doesn't make sense. You know, when you reincarnate, you know, and physics teaches you, energy is neither destroyed or created. So it has to take a different form. But the prophet did say, I'm going to the astral world because I could do better work over there. So now you have imposters coming in, just switching the game. So it just shows that there were a lot of automatons, a lot of sheeple, you know, just following. But, you know, when you look at the people who were following, they came from a following teaching of Christianity, you know, be the sheep, be the sheep. So they didn't break away from the, you know, I have to follow as opposed to being a leader. The prophet came, when he came, like when I read some of the stuff, especially the stuff in the Quran, he's making you a leader unto yourself. You know, and as Grand Sheikh and all the master teachers would say, you know, priesthood is dead. You know, you're a priest unto yourself. We're priests unto ourselves. And when we come together, it's a whole different ballgame. Now we're a force. And that's how we take on the corporations and stuff like that, the de facto and all that stuff.
Do I have permission to speak?
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, you're elder. You got all permission.
You know, again, my name is Norman Lewis. I come here quite regularly. I'm with the brothers, as they say. But there's I come from a different perspective in terms of how information is conveyed to us. And as you know, everything comes to us either through eyes or ears. And the brain is the mind field where that information is reconstructed. And whatever you've heard is taken on its own perspective in your mind, because you've got your own experience. So I often like to use pictures, with a picture you don't really need to explain things. And I'll give you a quick example. If I made a statue of the brother standing there, and we all saw it, we need not give him a name. Anywhere you see him, you would recognize him from his statue, right? He's a he, right? But if you can't see him, then you could perhaps put a number at the bottom of the statue, and person number 20. And when you hear person number 20, it's not a number you're seeing him, right? So if we understand, when we get to understand that construct in terms of how our mind constructs our vision of what is around us, then when we hear, because of English, and it's what I call the word of the Tower of Babel, which brings confusion. English is a very confusing language, and it's built up from so many different other languages. And so when you hear words, he's saying something to you. He's probably very clear what he's conveying to you, but you're hearing the same thing, but you're probably not even seeing what he's saying.
So true.
Okay? So the best way to simplify it is always easy to do it with a simple picture, right? You're not your name. You are who you are. If I drew a statue of you that was an exact replicate, right? And I saw you anywhere else, I know that guy. Why? From his picture. Right? Got it? So I don't even need to give you a name. But if I can't see you, then I gotta give you a name or give you a number. And that's what we do. We go around with little cards and they have a number. On the number is a picture. Right? And that's how you identify the person. But you're not the picture, you're not the number, you're you. Right? And the trick, the encryption I call it, is, could you just lift that picture? I want to do one of my things here. Okay. Just draw a line standing. What does that say to you?
Nothing.
Okay. Put two horizontal lines, one on the top, one on the bottom. What does that say to you now?
It's the letter I.
Right. It was always there, but you didn't see it until the line above went and the line below went there. Okay? The foundational language of English is Latin. And in medicine, you're required to learn Latin. Well, every single word used in medicine is a derivative of Latin, right? So, as part of our education, we should know Latin if we want to know the trickery in English, because every legal book has its roots in Latin words. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yep.
And Many of us who are here today have never had Latin as our basic subject in school. So you're liable to be confused for the rest of your life. And that's the simplest way I can put it.
And even that, I don't.
And that's a Latin word. It's a number, and it also represents you. It's the I.
Even if you go in a dictionary, most of the words that you look up in the dictionary, they all go back to Latin.
Latin.
And it goes from, let's say, like Middle English, Middle French to Old High German, and it always ends in Latin.
Latin, yeah.
Ends in Latin.
Yeah. And in
9,000
science,
says.
it's German.
It's German.
German. The German words is often used in scientific description. Again, some of it has roots in Latin.
Any more questions? You got any more questions or
Good for
good
now.
for now? All right. Any other comments? Yo, peace, man. They're ready for you. Yeah. All right, yeah, sorry, we're showing offline right now. Yeah,
So that's even the I has a double means one, but it's I.
no worries.
It's also one. In Roman numerals, you know, V1 is 6. VI.
Yeah.
Hmm? Yeah.
Yeah, I see you there, but it's showing that you're it's saying that you're offline. All right, no worries. Yeah, you shouldn't have to do that. Yeah, it's showing you there. You see me there. All right, yeah, we're here. That's I'm Cujo.L. Cujo period L. Cujo.L. So when you see me, just call. We're here. All right. Yeah, no worries. All right, so.
By the way, that's just
Go ahead.
to point out how much we really don't know.
Mhm.
And we need to know. What's happening?
Something with his thing saying he has to create an account or something. He's just gonna log out, log back in. So we're just gonna open up the floor. If anybody else got any other questions or anything like that, we can try to address some other stuff. If you got any more, you could shoot them up.
Yeah, so when you have your card and you know, like let's say my kids, they get sick, you know, can you still take them to the hospital? Because some people say if you have your ID, then you're not considered a citizen, you're not a taxpayer. So, you know, how do you like go to the hospital?
Well, one of the aspects that we teach people, based on what Noble Drew Ali said, is that he told the Moors that not to throw away your slave name. Right. So the idea is that, or let me use a different example. Brother Amari behind him, a few months ago, had an issue at the border, right, where he gave them a passport at the border, right, and then even though he gave them the passport, he had some issues that they said, well, you can't cross the border, we need to detain you, you know, because we got some people we need to talk to you or whatever like that, right? So he gets detained, and then when he goes to speak with the suit people, right, they're calling him by the name not on the passport. But he's used the passport, went back and forth before or whatever like that. But when they engaged him one-on-one, they engaged him under his free national name that's on the nationality card. Even though they never asked for it, there was no talk about it, they just addressed him by that name. So, it's equivalent to the Matrix. At that point, he got the phone call, went to the phone booth, and then now he's dealing with them on that level, right? Because he has to deal with the agents. So the agents had him in the room or whatever, questioning him about, put the stuff in his navel and all that stuff, right? Outside of that, he's somebody totally different. Who they know that he's somebody totally different. But for them to acknowledge that in the open, right, is gonna conflict with their reality, that their illusionary reality that they're creating for people. So you find out that a lot of times they deal with us on a different plane than they deal with everybody else who doesn't have this information, right? So in certain things, like we had a Skype last week with one of the Grand Sheiks in New Jersey, Nature Al Bay, and he was making the statement that nothing's, for certain things we need these corporations out here. We can't dissolve the corporation because, oh yeah, we're Moors, we don't need them. Because, we dissolve them, then no water's coming out the stuff, right? No hospital and stuff like that, because we don't have those things of our own yet. You know what I mean? We don't have the position where all our people are on holistic health, where they don't need a hospital. Right? So, in you making your transition from being in the status that you're in right now to being in for life as a Moor, you're gonna be using some of the corporate stuff, yeah, just because, what are we gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, if it really goes down, if it really gets down to the get down, yeah, right? And, like you said, we'll say children instead of kids or whatever, right? Or heirs, offspring, right? If they need to go to the hospital for something and you need to take them, you're gonna put down the stuff that those people recognize so you can get the service that they provide. You know what I mean? Other people might say differently, forget that, go take some herbs or whatever like that, but your child got blood in their stool or whatever, you talk about no herbs, yeah, right now. You need to go see a doctor or whatever like that. Don't play yourself.
So when you have the name, like, so because you have two different names, like you got the corporate name and the free national name, there's no like conflict there when you're dealing with government?
There's a name, right? That's on the de facto government ID, mm-hmm, right? Instruments and so forth. And then there's you, like the brother was saying. You are you. Okay. And then if you're home in your homeland, mm-hmm, and you're you, yeah, and then someone comes and says, give me a word to call you. And you say, well, okay, here, use this word. They know that you're you. Yeah. Yeah. Right? And let's acknowledge that if you're sitting with your community or your family, they might address you in something else. That's your birthright. Right? You're not a foreigner. Right? You're in your homeland.
You're muted.
Yeah. So that's never really an issue.
It's never an issue at all. Okay.
Right? Unless you get it in your mind that it's an issue, and then get off your square about it. And yeah, if somebody, from an agency makes you feel that there's an issue, then you've created that in your head.
1 second.
Yeah. Doesn't really exist.
When in reality, you're at home in your homeland. Someone says, "Give me a word," and you say, "Well, who are you?" Yeah. They say, "Give me a word," and then you give them, "Okay, here's the word." Right? You want to take the word from, change the word, that's up to them, right? But they need you, so they're not gonna
mess around.
Mess with the word.
They need you. So what about for like employment, right? You have,
yeah, we can see
same thing. So when I'm putting on my resume, I just put my government name.
Yeah, strong.
All right. Okay. 1 second. Let's just get
You see over Matrix, that's a good example. If you know you know,
same thing.
when you're in your own territory, you be yourself. When you live there, you be them.
I think a good way to look at it is to think that this is our homeland and we're under occupation. Based on that level of occupation that we're under, we're forced to use certain things because they're foreigners. We're indigenous. Our nationality card is an outward expression of us being indigenous. If they recognize us as being indigenous, then it would put them in the situation of why are you here? You see what I'm saying? Especially if we're going to them based on the fact that we're under occupation, a lot of us need to go to them to generate that fiat.
Finalizing
Work
on
and
the
job.
last question,
We're
right?
not gonna recognize you in your indigenous status because then they couldn't tax you. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? They couldn't tax you. It would cost them to have you working for them. So they're not gonna recognize that. So us understanding what the Prophet is saying by saying do all old business, leaving your old name, all new business going forward, doing your free national name, is saying like, listen, if you got your health card or their health card, their passport, their driver's license, leave it as it is. Why trouble it? You see what I'm saying? Because what you're gonna do is end up making more trouble for yourself going forward. But as the brother Tesla is saying, just because the name on that driver's license says Al Smith doesn't make you Al Smith. You see what I'm saying? If you
can just spell it for you.
yeah, if you know who you are, let's just call you Sir L. You know you're Sir L. It doesn't matter what name is on that license if you need to use it, or the health card if you need to use it to gain something, because that doesn't make you that corporate construct. You see what I'm saying? And understanding that mentality that, listen, we're under occupation and there's certain ways we need to move in order to get certain things. Until, like the brother Cujo says, we have our own establishments. If we had our own hospital, you wouldn't be worried about a health card. If Morse had their own Morse hospital, you wouldn't be worried about presenting a health card with the straw man on it. Because you go in there with your nationality card and say, listen, I'm a Moor, I need service. And there'd be no issue. But the fact is we're not in that state right now. You know what I mean?
Also,
and then one quick thing to add too, you could look at it like a switch hitter in baseball. That the pitcher is the corporation. They think, oh, I got this guy because he's right-handed. But then you flip on him. You go on the other side of the plate. Now what are you gonna do? You gotta deal with me. Regardless, you're gonna have to deal with me. Whether I show you corporate stuff or whether I switch and show you whatever, or maybe I might even put down both. Just so that nothing gets confused or whatever. You know what I mean? But last comment and then we'll get started.
Two things. If you look at Chinese people who come here, they have their Chinese national name, Wei Ming Fong, and then they have Johnny Tay.
That's true.
So that's how we have to see it. And another thing also, check out the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, because under that treaty, anything that Europeans develop, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, I may be off, but the way I've come to understand it is that we have access to any and everything that they pretty much produce, because they're on our land, as far as they have hospitals and so on and so forth. And also the Constitution also backs that up. Any contracts that we had before, it's up against them. So check the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Both.
Also the Empire of
yes,
Morocco, right?
Yeah,
the States.
Yeah, it talks about that, and the Constitution brings that up also. That go back to that, because the two of them are one, right? From what I've been said. That's correct, right? Yes.
This is on more. You ready?
Hit the lights, Cujo?
Yeah, hit the lights. All right, so we're ready for our installment with brother Denham Hack L. Again, we're gonna stress the point that the brother's expertise is the divine aspect of the Moorish movement. So any questions relative to the divine side, today's the day to bring up those type of questions, right? You're definitely gonna get an answer. But without further ado, let's give it up for our brother Denham L.
guys should try to reestablish, because it seems like you're really choppy, I don't know.
So, what you hear me?
Go again,
So,
Morgan.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you, but it's a
So,
little choppy.
can you hear me?
It's a little choppy. We can hear you.
You can hear me? Can you hear me better? Can you hear me better?
Yeah, it's getting better.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
All right. Yeah, go ahead, more. Let's see how it sounds.
Alright. To go, I'd like to give praise to the Lord. Honor. And honor to our holy and divine prophet, Noble Juwali. Honor to the Canaanland Lords and Brother Grand Sheik Kujo. I will up for heaven. And, you know, that's pretty good. This topic.
Yeah, we're getting choppy. I don't know if you could
I don't understand. Maybe I'm sitting in too much of the space. Maybe I need to do a different type of space. You hear me better? Hold on 1 second. Hold on.
All right.
Can you hear me better now more?
Yeah, it's a little better, but all your yeah.
Much of a low better though? Alright.
Last time I was gonna say last time I think you were on the couch.
Yeah, couch. I was in a totally different room.
Oh, for real?
Hold on. Pick it up.
Pick it up.
Okay, Martin. You better now?
Yeah, we can hear you a little better.
Alright. You going to my spot right here.
Or what you could do as well is try calling me back. And we'll see if that does anything.
You hear me better? You hear me? You better let me call you back.
Yeah, try calling me back.
Okay.
Alright.
Every time I get on the train, you gotta get off. This train is out of service.
Call back?
Yeah, he's gonna call back.
Is there any way to link to this? On
So?
my computer? Is there any way to link to this? On my computer?
No, I don't think so.
The comment? No, it's just let me get that one.
Is it Skype, right? No party if you put it on.
It's already body is worse.
Yeah, just put on your camera.
Maybe start with the camera off.
This is how much. Yeah, when I'm here.
Yeah, it's actually the same action.
Yeah, I think they're trying something.
I might have
Okay.
We can hear you, but all right, here we go.
That's better.
6%, right?
Okay.
No, right.
You have to turn the speaker. Because you can see me, right?
Yeah, well, we can hear you super clear now, but now the video's choppy, but it's all right. You go in, Mark. We can hear you.
Yep, that's the main thing.
All right.
The main
Oh, you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Okay, praise the Lord. Honor to his holy and divine prophet, Noble Juwali. Honor to all the Lords that are in attendance, those seen and unseen. Honor to Grand Sheik Kujo, I will up for having me on again. And if I'm not mistaken, this topic is discussing divine and national, but divine, not mistaken, why divine and not national first?
Why divine first and not national?
Well, because anything that's national has an origin. You know, anytime anything can be national, national is dealing with the physical manifestation. And before you can have anything national or anything had to come from this other side, the spirit side. Everything is a thought. Everything is a thought. And thoughts are ordered to existence, but everything is a thought. Mind is anything that is pertaining to a law or coming. That's what divine means. Divine. Anything coming to God or coming directly from God is divine. That's the definition of it. So understanding that first man is man is creation. And in his creative process and inside of his creation is the divine laws. So is L-A-W. He is law. The way he manifested. Therefore, divine is first because you can't have secular law books, and you can't have men representing law without first coming into existence. All law are things. All laws come from moral laws or ecclesiastical law, any type of law, Islamic, canon law, whatever. It comes from spirituality. Science of what we would call today, we would call religion, but it comes from spiritual principles. I do not steal, I will not kill. You know, these things are based on realities or moral issues. And look at the key word in the word moral. So the morals have always been about morals. You understand what I'm saying? So this is all tying back into the science of spirit. First law that was given to us on the secular level is man know thyself. That's what our prophet told us. And that's what told us, man know thyself. But in the process of man knowing himself, he would know another, that he is much more than his body and his soul. For anything, he's his breath. He's his breath. And breath is synonymous to spirit. You know what I mean? When you look at the word spiritus in Latin, it means breath. So divine has to be first before the national. Is when we look at the science of America, since our prophet is left, we see the principles of the national side really and being put into effect much more than the spiritual side. And the reason a lot of cats have with exercising the national don't know the spirit law. They don't even recognize the law. Recognize the paperwork. And there's nothing wrong with paperwork. Don't get me twisted. Don't get it wrong, because paperwork can bring you different, you know what I'm saying, opportunities. You know what I mean? But the paperwork is no good if you ain't got a spiritual kind of work. You understand what I'm saying? We're not doing the paperwork for our ego. It's being done to free yourself from a particular condition, a contract or whatever. And I honestly believe I'm just now beginning. I've been in this movement for many, many years. I'm beginning to examine paperwork to see what it is. I always stood on the spiritual side. I always stood on man, you know, being what he. See, I didn't know paperwork, but I knew spirit things, so I'm always just being what I knew. So I stuck with what I knew. You understand? Because it's easier. For me, it's easier to stick with what I know. I'm an old man. Amnesia. Forgetting. Losing my memory. It's a joke. But the point of the matter is, you know, exercise what we know. You see what I'm saying? And in the process of exercising what we know, we begin strive, well, not strive, but we begin to move into other realms of information. Because when you share what you know with others, they know with you, which allows you to maybe grow. In particular, you know, for me, I've never examined the paperwork, and I've asked even the grand chief to sit me down and put me down on some certain things about paperwork that I have no knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? But in the process, I have a lot of knowledge of divine things. And the divine comes first, before anything written on paper. And I'm going to tell you why. In order for it to be written on paper, it had to come from somewhere before you could get it on paper. In other words, it had to be created, developed. somewhere else before it can be put on paper, and that's in the mind of man, through the actions and the characteristics that's already deeply implanted in him. You understand what I'm saying? The very laws that man are looking for, he is composed of those very laws. He is the law himself. This is why we stand on a 45-degree angle, our right hand on our heart, looking like the letter I. You know, I. In the term Islam, that letter I. You understand? That's what we do on a 45-degree angle with our hands on our heart, our right hand on the heart. I. That ninth letter. You know what I'm saying? So when we deal with, we're dealing with law. There's, you know, I self-law and master. We used to say that all the time back 5%ers. I self-law and master. I silly little laws, mathematics. It was all types of ways. The term Islam. But today you see I self-law and master a lot, being used a lot. And a lot of people don't understand that first letter I is the composition of everything. That's the L, the A, and the M. You understand? That I is the composition. It is the root of the self, the law. Because you have to recognize the I. That means you have to recognize, you have to go back exactly to what our holy prophet said, man knows thyself. See, when you know yourself, then you know what you are and how you are supposed to demonstrate. And the real law is in your character, and the way you demonstrate is the real law. Now we know that we're dealing with current principles and systems and so on and so forth, and they have things on paper. They have put their own systems and customs on paper. You understand? And those codes, customs, and systems on paper have distributed and put on other people through, again, legislation, through different forms. So we have to use paper to challenge other people. Since man just being himself is how he went. The prophet said he began to uplift by teaching them to be themselves. Paperwork can't teach you to be yourself. So being yourself comes of those before you who showed you the culture. You understand? The cold culture, the symbolism to our Islam, which is not Arab. We're not Muslims. Our Islam is Islam. The Prophet distinctly told us that our Islam comes from India and Tibet. So it is our duty to understand and study those areas. India. What is India known for? Palestine. Tibet. What were they known for? Well, India was known for breath. India is known for meditation and breathing. Why you see holy breath all through your Holy Quran Circle 7. Why he said it. Science in the breathing. There's a science in the breath, which is why Jesus dreamed, meditating. You understand what I'm saying? There's a science in this. And we call the holy breath she. See, we do have a maternal and principle within moral science, but it's not what's called element. It is related to a spiritual vibration and without so-called gender. See, I say it all the time, masculine and feminine, the manifestation has no physicality. Masculine vibration in the spirit world there, because there is no gender. So masculine and feminine, when I tell a brother, you need to understand the feminine aspects of yourself, I'm not calling you a faggot, man. In fact, I just say, you're a faggot. Yes. I'm telling you, you need to examine the spiritual within you. Remember, Allah made everything in pairs. Every pairs. So your physical manifestation has the vibration of electromagnetic, which is masculine and feminine. About sex. I'm not talking about body parts. I'm talking about vibration now. You understand what I'm saying? The whole balance. The masculine and the feminine are not separate. They look to be separate on this plane of things made, but it's actually one. Allah created everything in pairs. There was not one created from that. Everything was done in pairs. Everything, that's how it's done. And what we seem to call pairs on the physical manifestation is actually, there is no duality. There's only oneness. There's a multiple lines and symbols or multiplicity of things like the yin and yang symbol. People say, well, that's duality. It's oneness. It's all in one component. It's all in one. It's not duality. It is a combination. It's oneness. It is not Don't, it's yin and yang. We say yin and yang, but that's the composition of man. Man is yin and yang. Man is truth and falsehood strangely mixed. Now, understanding that man is truth and falsehood, is that two separate things? Anyone?
No.
Is that two separate things? Man being truth and mixed. Is that two separate entities of man?
It's one thing.
Exactly. But the misinterpretation teaches you that it's two. When man is one, all is one. Everything is one. Right?
Islam.
You know what I'm saying? So that's where we at. Divine is first because divine comes from Allah. National and divine movement, because that would have been backwards. That would have been counterculture to what it actually. So it has to be divine and national, because the divine, without a divine, there could be nothing national, because national is a manifestation, or ties into nations and that ties into creation. Before there was anything national, there was divinity. There was a law of thinking, putting things into existence. Well, this is why the divine has to be first. Because there could be nothing of the physical manifest without the divine. It can't be opposite. It can't be national and it was. The prophet told you it was national and divine. He said divine and national. And that nobody is this movement or at the head of this movement but Allah. Oh. Hence divine. Any statements, any comments, any add-ons?
One thing where the audio's choppy, so I know it's hard to stay still or whatever, but you might have to channel toward the mic a little bit more, so we get a better stream of your conversation.
Okay, hold on, let me see. And why we having this problem, because we never had this problem before.
Yeah, well, once we're dealing with divine, people are gonna counteract that.
Yeah. Never you always get problems. Yeah. But can you hear me better now though?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's we're dealing with it. We got 2 ears. We're dealing with it. Question: when you were talking about the oneness,
right.
and there not being duality. Could you
right.
elaborate? Could you elaborate more with relation to some lessons in the Quran with regard to that?
Man and the law is one. Allah is many things, but yet Allah is one. Everything is one. That's straight from our Holy Quran, Surah 7. Straight from our book.
If anybody has questions,
you hear me?
Yeah, we're hearing you, but I just I muted so we don't get feedback. So if you don't hear any response, we're still here.
Okay.
Any questions? Anybody?
So yeah.
I was just going to say a comment. That's where the word individual comes from, right? It's you call an individual is one single entity, but there's duality within that entity, but it's still the one.
You want to put that up here? You want to come up here and say that?
Sure.
Come on up.
It's Sister Mocha. I was just going to
There's a delay.
Oh, there's delay. Okay.
So, yeah, he's here and you don't.
I was just making a comment about the word individual. Exactly. So the word individual refers to one entity, but it's got the word dual in it. That shows that exactly that you have the duality within the one entity type of thing. Pretty much agreeing with what you were talking about earlier.
And that's right. You see, you're saying is 100% correct. And the thing is what happens is that we have been taught to split the oneness into duality principles.
Exactly.
We have been taught to split the duality. And you just clarified it and cleared it very, very well with the statement you just made. And the word individual is the word dual. In that oneness, there's dual pieces. But that's the one piece.
I think it has a lot.
It's the choice. It's the cut. Go ahead, so what you said.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think it has to do with our language too. We have Western language, so we have a Western way of speaking, and they're very analytical, so they divide. Whereas we're very synthetic, where we try to synthesize and try to be holistic, or that's where we come from. Islam.
Islam, so it's very, very well spoken.
Just jump up.
She's 100% correct.
After you want.
Because that's what we're trying to get at. We understand that there is no duality. I think the multiplicity is the one.
Exactly.
Islam, brother.
Islam.
I just want to just add on to what Sister Mocha said as far as when you guys were just having that little discourse. Regarding in the whole individual stuff and what the Prophet told us as far as the high and the low self. You know, and just when she mentioned individual and then you broke it down, you know, what just clicked was the high and low self within us, encapsulated in the physical flesh. And also the fact that each one of us, according to what the Circle 7 says, we're binded. Everything is binded by a cord. So there's that whole oneness as opposed to, okay, well, there's that person over there and that person over here, but we're all one, you know?
Right.
Islam.
That's the trick. And you're right, brother. That's the trick. We're all one. And the Western language is a bastard language. It's full of tricks and technology, man. So, you know, they place words and flip you around. So, you know, it's hard to understand the science of oneness when you've been like everything is duality.
Islam.
Right. But yeah,
come from the man, or the man come from the woman, and all that crap. That's all nonsense.
Islam. I have just been, just in terms of not switching the tip, but seeing if the divine is the higher and the national being sort of the lower manifestation. In the Quran, they have the magistrate and I think subject, and then master and servant, and those two follow each other, and you realize that that is his instruction on the lower side to the duality of that same divine process, that we are one and the same on the physical as well.
Yeah. But you got to remember, magistrate and subject, talking about the science of a nation of people who would pit someone to rule over them from their home.
Right. But
you understand what I'm saying? And they have collectively chosen to be subjects to the magistrate.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? That's how that works. That's the same relationship.
But
you know what I mean? I have servants in certain skills that I have. So I'm actually, the master is actually the servant.
Well, that's what I was getting at. That
serving the servant with my master. I'm serving them, so they masters. So the master and the servant is equivalent to me, because it's always going to be a servant. And the true servant is the master.
Right. Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
What else? Everybody's good?
For instance, just like the Moors sitting in Canaanland, right? Through a process, you all sit with your brother Grand Sheikh Kujo Abu El by choice. You sit with him. He ain't forced you to sit with him. You've chosen to be at his table and to learn from him. So now he becomes a servant to you. Master is a master servant also. And vice versa.
Islam.
Islam.
Makes a lot of sense.
Good. Could you outline some Quran chapters that one should focus on with regard to bettering their divine self, their higher self?
Sure. Chapter 1, chapter 11, chapter 3. Well, let's do like chapter 3, chapter 7, chapter 10, chapter 11, the chapter on religion, and the chapter on the pinnacle of the soul and the
Sorry, if you could
those are my favorites. But then there's also other chapters that, as you observation and you're dealing with your own self, you'll find other pieces of what you need to develop.
Could you hit those chapters one more time and maybe go into a couple of them, some specific verses or something?
Yes. Well, chapter 1 is telling man exactly who he is. Chapter that you are law, basically. Chapter 1 is telling you that you have every aspect of a law within you, every attribute is divinely placed in you. In order to understand it and to become a Muslim is one who knows the full so that he can become the will and strength of Allah made manifest. That's what a Muslim is. The will and strength of Allah made manifest. He fights so that he could become the will and strength of Allah made manifest. Chapter 1, Muslim. His foe is his carnal nature, his carnal makeup, which has its own nature. That's chapter 1. Chapter 3 goes into the unity of life and how everything is connected by the cord. Chapter 7, meaning of truth, and ties into the Elohim and other things, and so does chapter 11, which is the continuation of chapter 7. Chapter 1, 7, and 11 to me goes together. So when you're looking at these chapters, you're finding everything that gives you a piece of man himself and what his relation is to that that created all things. So when you look into these chapters, again, chapter 1, 3, chapter 7, chapter 10, chapter 11, chapter 25. I forgot the chapter for religion, I forgot the number, but you know, the chapter on the holy breath and the pinnacle of wisdom, those are the chapters.
35.
Those are the ones that you read when you want to deal on a divine level, and more about the divine aspects, because see, chapter 3 in the unity of life tells a Moorish American what he or she is composed of and what they are, between higher self, lower self, what is. And chapter 10 continues that. So you have to look at, now I think like this before, you have to, remember, our prophet divinely prepared the book. The book is divinely, he didn't author the book, he divinely prepared it, right? That means that he took other sources and put those in our book, right?
Right. Islam.
That's what it means, right?
Right.
Divinely.
The Aquarian.
Right. He didn't plagiarize nothing. So when we understand that, in the pure book, demonstrated from our own understanding from one of our own who was raised from amongst us. See, that's divine. That's divine. That fits with the Quran. That fits with the Holy Quran of Mecca. 4. You know what I'm saying? For verily, this is the messenger to every nation, speaking the language of that nation, making the message clear. Surah 14:4. I have sent a messenger to every nation, speaking the language of that nation, making the message clear, aka he's speaking the language of the people, raised from amongst us, like the book of Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 18 and 19, I'll raise a prophet from among you and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? And then, you have to look at Surah 49:13, for verily I've made you into nations and tribes. They know one another. See? The key word in that surah is nation, where you get the word nationality. So Allah believes in nationality and nation because he created you. Therefore, you can't have divine. The more you look at it, you have to understand that the national comes out of the divine. The seam comes from the Islam?
Islam.
Islam. Oh, Amor said, if you can address the issue of Noble Juali, Divinely Prepared, and the Aquarian Gospel, and unto thee I grant.
Okay, I did. I'm gonna say it again. When the prophet said, first of all, let's plagiarism or to plagiarize, because I hear using that term a lot when it comes to Noble Juali, the prophet. Oh, he plagiarized. To use that word, have heard somebody else use it, can't even spell it, and don't even know what it means. I'm just gonna crystal clear that right quick and just work. Plagiarism means one who claims authorship in others' works without giving the credit due to the original author of the work. When you look at our Holy Quran Circle 7, someone pull it out right now and hold it up and hold it to the front to anybody sitting in the audience and hold the front of the cover to them so they can see divinely prepared by the prophet Noble Juali. It doesn't say author. There's a difference.
Oh, you got
Islam.
Author, Noble Juali didn't author the Moorish Holy Quran Circle 7. He prepared that book with other sources like unto thee I grant. Actually came from Tibet, which actually came from the Rosicrucians, which actually came from ancient Egypt. I'm in Hotep IV. That's where unto thee I grant comes from. Actually. The Aquarian Gospel, Levi Downing, part verse this. A lot of the teachings in the Aquarian came from the teachings out of Tibet in the story of Saint Esau. So a lot of times, this dude Levi, they say author this book, didn't author anything. He did the same bits and pieces from other stuff and put it together. He didn't keep records. That's all drama, man. So from ancient Kemet and put it together, as well as from put it together. And the prophet did the same thing. He took bits and pieces, put it together, and put a book together that fit our historical condition. That's what he did. And it all belongs to us. We should have took it back. If anybody got a problem with, or me, or any of us taking back what belongs to us, your ass need to get checked. That's all I can say, man. Period.
Islam.
Islam. Could you speak on the connection between divine and health? Because a lot of our people are transitioning now from their I don't know how to call it, carnal foods into more divine foods. You speak on you know, the connection between those two, health and the divine.
Mm-hmm. In Quran Surah 7, it talks about one of the most important things that you have is your health. You know what I'm saying? You know, in divine health or divine food is issues to anything that doesn't really have blood, anything that you don't have to kill or destroy. We're supposed to be eating. We're actually supposed to be we're supposed to have a plant dietary, system going. Originally, that's where we were before slavery. Excuse me. We were plant-based. Eating roots. Many of us know that the actual history of roots, Alex Haley, some of his history, he went to South Carolina and got the story of Kunta Kinte from the people in the Gullas. He was a real person. You understand what I'm saying? But it wasn't Alex Haley's bloodline. You know what I mean? He characterized that. But we know, we saw roots. And we know there was a scene when Kinte first got enslaved and they brought him back to the New World. And they had him. And the farmer came to feed him. He had some meat. He had some stuff that looked like slop. He picked the meat up. He smelled the meat and he threw it away and ate the slop. He already knew from his prior infestation that pork was no good for you. Today, because of the process of slavery, we eat the pig from the root, not understanding that the reason we ate the pig in those days was for survival purposes strictly. It wasn't because we liked it, it was to survive. They gave us that on purpose because they knew what we were. They were trying to break you, swine, and do certain other things that was culture and your divinity. See, the way you live thing is tied down to your national name and to your deity. This is why I say all the time, it's so important that you know your divine, your divine creed and your nationality, because when you know who your God is. And when you know who your God is, you know your nationality and you know your purpose on the planet. Because every nation has rules that came with its creation, including food, including dietary habits. Islam?
Islam.
Islam. Yo. Islam.
Laying of the hands. Laying of the hands over food and like as far as cleansing in reference to what he was saying. Yeah.
I want to spoil your question.
No. Islam, brother. Brother Cantor. Just want you to, if you can just go in a little bit on like laying of the hands as far as in reference to as far as cleansing of food, unclean food. How does that affect us? The difference between just eating without even giving thanks, without even putting your hands over it, having your aura cleanse the food and that whole process. Can you speak a little bit about that as far as us being
Indeed, what you said is a very powerful thing. I can anybody in the room, anybody in that room dealing with science, like go to biology, anything like that. Anybody got aspect what's the word I'm looking for? Anybody got connections with a microscope or a high
biology?
Yeah, like biology. But does anybody have access to a high microscope? I'm gonna tell you why I'm saying this. I'm gonna give you a physical test to explain and prove why the laying of hands, words over food and certain things, the food or the liquid that you're speaking over, literally.
Yeah, we might have to.
This is what I want you to do.
Yeah, we might have to get one of those.
But today, this is what I want you to do. I want water. I want you to get a microscope. And I want you to take some water and put it on a Petri glass and put it in and look at the water structure. And then that same water, I want you to say the Moorish American prayer over it, take a drip of it and then put it in, see the difference. That power, because it's done by breath, and breath is, get it?
Islam.
And spirit is a law. Always food and always pray over your water, man.
Also sound.
And always stir your tea, water, counterclockwise. It creates a vortex and opens the liquid up. It releases powers in the liquid, man.
Quick question. When you
Yes,
brought up stirring the tea counterclockwise, for myself, I never thought about it till you just said it now. But that's something that naturally I do. I don't know if it's because I'm right-handed, but naturally I stir counterclockwise. Even if it's pot of something, porridge, whatever like that.
That's so true.
I always stir that way.
Right.
Is that?
You stir counterclockwise. The real vortex is go counterclockwise. So the real vortex is a counterclockwise motion. And when you do that with your liquid, you're actually breaking a vortex, but you're actually the fluid. You're breaking open what you would call this side of the fluid, man. It's heavy. It's heavy, man. Every little thing we do is heavy. Remember, again, prayer your water, speaking over your food is powerful because breath is. This is why you can't let everybody speak over the food. In certain cats, you just over the food speaking, bro. Everybody got some in their family. Even one of your cousins, man. Cats, you just don't want over the table speaking over the food, man. You know what I'm saying? So when they speak over it, you know what's gonna happen. You already know.
Yeah.
Because we bring things with us. When we say we do things like that, there are things that are attached to us depending upon the type of frequency that you live it on.
For sure.
And then it's outside hustling all day long, you know, bad and stealing and robbing. This nigga can't come to the table and pray over my phone. It just can't happen. Because it's going to be a problem. So, you keep the pure at heart over the food. That's about the laying of hands. I'm a 2nd degree Reiki master. Laying of hands, you got holes in the palm. Right in the palm. The center of your hand. First comes through that, man. First comes right through the palm, right through that center. We even see pictures of it. They make movies about it. That shooting right through the palms of their hands and so on and so forth. But we've always had this power before there was Reiki. We could lay hands. We can still lay hands. We don't need the Reiki power. We need to understand the power of the universe. Knowing that we are the generator. When I turn on my engine, it's connected to the universe. So I'm putting universe power through this engine. So my gap is the universe. And it feeds the other individual that I'm serving. Hands on. But when I'm putting my hands on, I'm not necessarily even touching. My hands may be over the particular part that needs. And when you're in tune, you will know. You can run your hands across and tell them where they're sick at. Because you can feel it, and you can feel it in your palms. They tingle. You can feel it. We're just not divinely tuned in because we're outside of the divine self, because we're so much dealing with everything outside of ourselves. Everything we deal with everything is outside of us. Work, school, your girlfriend, the kid, getting to the train station, the bus, everything is outside of us. We don't spend too much time inside. We spend a lot of time outside. You have to spend time in the you have to. You have to find time to make time to go, man. Islam?
Could you talk on some basic things that people could do with regard to tuning themselves in?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a simple breathing exercise. 7 in, 7 out. You ever heard of that?
No.
I heard.
Never heard of that, huh?
No.
I know you have, Grand Sheik. 7 in, 7 out is a old school method of breathing. It's actually from India. It's called, as a matter of fact, our Holy Quran are more talks about triangular breathing in the form of the triangular law, wisdom, will, and love. Wisdom is the thought, will is the manifestation that the wisdom and the breath makes man, or the thought and the breath brings into existence. It's the love made manifest. This is all triangular breathing. 7 in, 7 out is you breathe it through your nostrils for 7 seconds. You hold it for 7 seconds. And when you're holding it, tighten up your sphincter muscles, your anal muscles, everything, because you're keeping the breath in. You're not letting it escape through any orifice. You hold the breath for 7 seconds. Then you release it. You release and you let everything loose. And you do it again. You inhale, you hold it, tightening everything up, holding up every. And when you're holding it, the Moorish American prayer, same time you're holding the breath, or into existence a particular thought of what you're trying to achieve while you're holding and you exhale. The holding of the breath is the creation. Is the will pushing forth the thought process. 7 in, 7 out is what Noble Drew Ali taught his Moors in the Head chamber, and I've never been there.
You sure? Question.
With regards to that,
Well, yeah, you know.
with regards to that breathing practice, I'm familiar with square breathing, where there's another one where you hold your breath out as well. Well, they're just talking 5 and 5, but you use the triangulation of 3 rather than 4. So am I being taught something incorrect then by using the 4th element? Right? That's was from yoga.
Did you hear that question?
Catch it?
What did you say? So what did you say?
No, I'm gonna tell him come up. He's gonna come up.
Islam, brother. I've been studying a little bit of the yoga,
Islam, man.
the breathing practices in yoga, and the one you just suggested is similar to one that they talk about. They call it square breathing, where there's a 4th part to it, where you're holding your breath out for their length of time as well. Now, is that contradicting what we're being taught through Drew Ali, where you just mentioned just the 3 and triangulation as opposed to the 4?
It's not a contradiction at all. Actually, Noble Drew Ali said our Islam comes from India, Palestine, and Kemet. And we deal on the holy breath. There's many aspects of breathing. You got the breathing where you're holding the thumb and you're breathing in and you hold the nose. You do different forms to the yoga, right?
Right.
You familiar with this?
Oh
right?
yes, yeah, I've done all that. Yeah, I've done all that.
Exactly. There's many forms of breathing. There's part of that's breathing. The point of the matter is, he got us to breathe.
Right.
The important aspect is the breathing. Just like when she come out wisdom, when she's on the pregnancy, the doctor says, and the doctor says, push, push, and then the baby pops out. It's the same thing. But it's our ideas that we are bringing into manifestations of, and our ideas become physical beings or physical things.
Okay, another question.
So you could add that 4th to it if you choose to.
Right.
So on our end is 7 in, hold 7, 7 out.
Right.
Which is equivalent to 21 breaths, which tie back to 3, which tie back to everything we do is allegory and built on the symbolism.
Right.
Unified and connected.
Right. Okay, another question with regards to the breathing. Like when I first started doing a lot of these breathing practices, it took me to places that I really wasn't even aware of. Okay, and so I could be in an environment somewhere, and the environment's responding to me. Like I'm noticing the eyes are open now, right? So I'm noticing the environment responding to me, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, where am I, and should I be doing something different, or should I just be that because it just took me to wherever it took me? To let it go, or should I restrain it? Or just be? To me, it's just be.
Be that to what you're tricky to. Yeah. Be that to what you're tricky.
Right.
Because that's the whole science.
Right.
Remember? The difference between an angel and a prophet is the thought of Allah manifested in flesh. Now you, what happens with meditation and yoga, it alters and quickens up. You're being quickened, bro.
Right. So even...
You're being quickened. So, things start happening around you, and it's a manifest, and you're not doing it by will, let it occur.
Right.
That's the universe. Those are the ether submitting to the divine that's in the space.
Right. Just let it.
At that particular point, you're the thing in that room, bro.
Right. Now, what about in the?
What does that mean? When everything starts changing around, you are the most divine thing. So the universe and the elements are worship and submission to you, or giving their brokenness, their honors to you that way, bro. You're in tune.
Yeah, shit. Chapter 1.
Yeah. So
You can't be scared of that.
even with sleep now, like difficulty sleeping, like if I do a session in the evening,
Of course.
I might not even sleep. Like my eyes will be open and close, open and close. Just let it be.
You're charging.
Yeah, you're not gonna sleep. Let me tell you something. If you who are on your way with this particular science,
Right.
we don't. The only sleep you get, the only time your mind, so-called sleep, your mind and your brain is working. You wake up tired.
Right.
Even when you sleep, you wake up tired.
Yeah.
The real sleep is meditation, brother. That's when you get your real, because the brain isn't working. The thoughts off, don't we?
Right. All right. Islam, brother.
Right. So when you want to get some rest, go meditate. Sleep, you ain't resting in the sleep. Current, your brain is working, all types of things is going on, and you wake up tired, and you can sleep at tired.
Peace, brother. Thank
So,
you.
Rod, for you who's doing the yoga, for you, brother, who's doing the yoga, start sharing and breathing exercises with the Moors around you, man. Start exercising.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna ask you to do, man. And I'm gonna come check.
Oh,
Peace,
not
brother.
Cabana.
Yeah, Kavita.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go on, man.
Islam, it's Kanta again, brother Kanta. Just based on what you're saying, what it seems to me, it's your intention, regardless of how many times or the count is or whatever. It's your intention and where your heart and your mind's at. That makes a difference with the whole, I guess, process of
True.
realigning yourself. Is that fair to say, or?
True. Correct. No, you're right. You're right. The count is for the order and the structure. But everything is heart's desire and intent. You're right. It's always about intent. Everything is about it. Even the thought has an intent. You understand? That's why even in Islam, before we make prayer, they say you have to make your niyat. Your niyat is your intent to why you're praying. You understand? So intention is everything, brother. You're 100% correct.
Islam.
Anybody got any more? Islam, I know you said you had some prior engagements.
Yeah, I gotta drop my daughter up at 3 o'clock, boy.
Yeah, but we'll definitely set up for a part 2, probably in March.
Do it at your own convenience. We can do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, we can do it next week. It's up to you, family.
All right.
I'm there. You already know.
If you have any
All right, my brother.
if you have any closing remarks for
Peace
the
and love to all the
morning,
more, man.
you have any closing remarks for the morning here?
Yeah. I got some. Real quick, I got some closing remarks. You have this one? Man, just breathe. Just breathe, man.
Just breathe.
Just breathe.
That's right.
Just breathe. You know what I mean? Just breathe. Other than that, yo, man, Allah will continue to bless all of you. And know and understand that Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein. Therefore, Allah, say that and just breathe. And you will get the rest.
Islam.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Islam.
Appreciate
Peace and
that.
love.
Peace and love.
Yes, you stop.
No problem, family.
Got it, right?
Peace and love.
Holy bread, you're done.
Kobera, you wanna do that thing? You wanna do that thing right now?
Come on up to the front.
You wanna do that breathing thing right now?
I guess I can try and show you what I.
Yeah. Let's bring it up. Yeah,
Then,
you gotta sit down or you got a chair up there?
Yeah, it's best in a chair.
Yeah, yo, just
This one right here.
yeah, just pull a chair and
demonstrate.
We'll try and. The one that he was talking about with 3, I've learned it with 4. Through the yogic sciences, there's various websites on YouTube. There's one called Master of Meditation. And Mol Mehta is the gentleman. He's been teaching for quite a while. Pretty sharp dude. He's got a few degrees and so on. But square breathing, it's a little different than what Denham just showed us. Uses the 4 methods as opposed to the 3. What I was was taught was with 5 seconds as opposed to 7, but you know, circle 7 will go with 7 seconds. You want to try and align your spine with your body. Chair is good. We all can't sit in the lotus position. If you're familiar with the lotus position, the legs crossed. It's very difficult because your whole hip has to be very flexible to get flat on the ground. Ideally, in the yoga position, your knees are supposed to be on the ground so that your hips are a little higher, and that automatically puts your spine into alignment. It's very difficult to reach that point where you can do that. So a lot of these yogic masters and teachers, they use a cushion, and that lifts you up, and then your knees can drop below your waist, below your hips, and then your spine aligns. One of the things you can do to help align is to kind of just move back and forth or around in a slight circle, and you just kind of naturally try and find that point where your spine just kind of lines up in your hip socket in the right spot, right? Straight here, chin down just a little bit. Once again, it's all just trying to keep that alignment to let that kundalini flow naturally up. Okay, so I'm going to do 7 seconds in. We're going to try for 7. That's kind of hard, I think. 5 is enough, but circle 7, we'll go for 7. So we're going to breathe in for 7. We're going to hold, breathe in, take 7 seconds, take a full breath. We're going to hold that for 7. Then you're going to breathe out for 7, and you're going to try and hold it out with no breath for 7. That's square breathing. And there's a whole science of what that does with the mind. It's helping you to reach those other places. Not having breath and the CO2 actually is very helpful. In between those, you can take a breath as well and hold it, and you'll find that the CO2 does its thing in your body and your mind, because you kind of need that as well as the oxygen. So now you're also going to breathe. Yes?
Can you explain what CO2 is?
Carbon dioxide, sorry. Carbon dioxide as opposed to oxygen. That's CO2, carbon dioxide is what you get when you breathe out. That's what the plants use, and then they feed us oxygen, we feed them. Right?
So you're saying there's parts of your body that actually use the CO2?
Yeah, it uses the CO2. Like, when you've gotten sort of more competent at it, you'll feel like I feel the sensations in my head when I hold that breath.
Tingles.
So I let it, yeah, exactly. So he knows. You get a tingle going, so there's something going on there.
Definitely.
And then that pulls oxygen right in again, because there's all that CO2.
Yeah.
And then you get that kind of rush kind of thing.
Oh, okay, right.
It's kind of like that balance, right? You
Yeah.
have to balance the oxygen with the.
Yeah.
So it's
Question.
one.
That tingly
as opposed to
feeling that you
opposed
get, is it like the same feeling
Depends on
when
the
somebody asks you to like
Yeah,
go up
yeah.
in front of like a whole crowd and you're just like getting
nervous?
really bad? Yeah, like
No, that's different sensation. Like I'm nervous now, but that's a different sensation than that. Your solar plexus, this is your energy source. Okay, so underneath just below your ribs here, top of your tummy, solar plexus, that's where all the energy comes from. And you're supposed to breathe, and your diaphragm is behind that. It's like a big balloon. Okay, so when you squeeze it in, breath comes out. So when you squeeze that, breath out. It's kind of opposite to what we're taught, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true.
Exactly. So if you knew this when you were young in sports, you'd be even better than what you thought. I had a young guy trying to teach me that was something. I wasn't paying attention. He was a long distance runner, And I was a sprinter. He was saying, breathe more through here. I was still breathing up to here, still not recognizing. If I had learned that early, holy smokes, where would that take you, right? But yeah, through your diaphragm. And then when we breathe out, we're going to squeeze it to push all the air out, and then you're going to hold that out. Okay?
Yep.
So we'll try and breathe in.
Breathing out,
Through the nose. All through the nose.
Everything through the nose?
Yeah, everything through the nose. Yeah, various exercises may use the mouth, but most of it is with the nose. And you'll learn that does different things again. Breathing just with the nose and breathing with your mouth. But most from what I've seen, most of it's with the nose. So we'll breathe in for 7. So if you just kind of relax, find your little spot there. All right? We'll breathe in for 7. Done when you pulled it out. I don't know if you got that cycle. I was trying to count, but it's kind of hard to kind of count and breathe at the same time. But you learn that. So in for 7, hold for 7. I think I mix it up. In for 7, hold for 7, out for 7, and then out. Just hold it. Okay, we'll try it again. So we're breathing for 7. good, and you repeat. And you just keep going through. There's all kinds of breathing exercises. Another one is called breath or fire through your nose. If you're familiar with that, it's just quick sniffing. You don't even relate. Yeah, exactly, you guys. So you guys should do some research now. Demonstrate. Okay, once again, same posture. If you do a little bit of studying on where the pineal is, like it's in the center of your head there, right behind your nose, there's a hollow there, right? There's a cavern, right? If you look at some images on, go to Google, and it'll show you, you know, because the breath's coming in right there. So you're hitting the spot. Really is what that is. So that's why it's so powerful. And then, you know, like when I started, I had no idea where I was going. It was just there, and then you kind of develop it. Oh, you know, it's things are happening. You know, that psychic, those connections are, you know, being made, right? So this one is breath of fire. You breathe in through your nose. It's a sniff, okay? So a powerful sniff in, and then you just release it, and your body is automatically going to take it out, right? Just automatic, and then you just breathe in again. And what you want to try and do initially is just to maintain your focus here on the breath. So breathe in through your nose and out, but here you don't want to go. It's just the nose, right? So, and you'll feel your diaphragm. And you just develop your rhythm. You know, you can make them longer, stronger, right? And that builds. So this, if you go like 3 minutes, if you can go 3 minutes, that's good. Minute, whatever you can work up to. I usually do about 3 minutes. Everything I stop at 3, rest, 3 again, 3 minutes.
What type of experiences, like you were talking about being in other places and stuff, like what?
Well, it's not that I recognize that I'm there. It's just the environments that I'm in.
Yeah.
Tell me that, you know, you're somewhere else, right? Could be at the grocery store. I could be at the bank. I could be in my car and other cars around me. You just recognize that you're in a different mental space, you know, a state of mind, right? You're in a different place. Everything's cool, right? You're just going, doing your thing, but the environment tells you. If you're paying attention, but I wasn't paying attention for like 2 years. And it's like, oh, something's different here, right? I've had that tingle go up the spine when I first started, doing all these different practices. And there's one day I thought, well, what's going on here? I'm scratching my back, you know, there's a spider going on, right? And then it happened again, and I realized, oh, that's the Kundalini. You know, that was that first experience where it was rising, right? So that was pretty interesting.
You know, an uninitiate would probably think it's a medical imbalance.
Yeah, I think something's wrong with you, right?
And get shut down.
Yeah, exactly. You want to shut down, but I realized, oh no, that's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's how it is.
There are breathing exercises to help you lose weight, and when I was doing this steady, you know, I trimmed right down just from breathing exercises. If you have, yes.
I'm really fighting to restrain myself here, not to, you know, to interrupt what you're saying. And the more I'm hearing, the more I realize, you know, it's hard for me to keep my mouth shut.
Right.
Because you brought up a very important point, but it was important, but you didn't really stress it. And you talked about the CO2,
right?
Which is what the trees take in.
Right.
One of the traps that we're in is, and I'll be straight up, living in the cities. If you notice, the first thing you do is cut down trees.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a symbiotic relationship with trees.
Right.
If we're on the trees, it changes our whole sense of self. Because they're actually, trees literally feed us.
Yes,
absolutely. They give us oxygen, they give us food. They translate the sun's energy into food. They absorb the energy elements in the earth into themselves. We consume that. You know, and as we mentioned, CO2. There's also the other question. I don't know how many of us have done chemistry here, but that's another part of our education that is very lacking. Chemistry, the understanding and the teaching of it. And one of the things, and you talk about weight loss, one of the things that we glance over is the importance of oxygen. Wherever there's lots of trees, there's more oxygen, particularly in the
disease can't exist in a high oxygen environment.
A big pardon?
Disease cannot exist in a high oxygen
environment.
Exactly.
So in the city, we tend to suffer from a lot of disease as a result of low oxygen. The vehicles that we run up and down consume a lot of oxygen, plus they spit out a lot of carbon monoxide, not dioxide, right? Which is all poison. And many of us find ourselves very unhealthy, like myself. I'm in the healthiest states. But to remain healthy, yes, I can do the breathing exercise, which is all well and good. But if there's carbon monoxide in this room, I better have an alarm to tell me there is. Because that same breathing exercise can kill me.
Oh, sure.
Sure?
For sure.
But there's ways of correcting that.
Well, if they had plants in the room.
That's one way. But you see, we no longer ride on camels, we ride in Cadillacs, Mercedes-Benz, right? Things that we didn't have 100 years ago, like cell phones we have today. The microchip which we didn't have 100 years ago, we have today. We have a greater understanding of science today than we had 100 years ago. And what I'm saying is, there's a lot of information out there now that we can apply to improve our state of health without having to mortgage our home and our children.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And this is one of the things I want to bring to the brotherhood in terms of how we can improve our health in an environment that is basically poisoning us. Okay? And if I may, if the brother can put a symbol on the sheet, on the whiteboard.
No, not
On the whiteboard.
We need that.
Right all over the projection.
Wrong word.
Breathing's working.
I like to keep things simple. Computers work on symbols, and it's only two symbols. There's a single line up and down. The next symbol, make it big. I-O. I know off to work we go.
Yeah.
But anyway, just like I said, we put the two horizontal lines on the line, and we get a clear understanding what that means.
Right.
Okay? There's something we can do to the O, which is the expression of life itself. Put the number 3 below the O on the right side, bottom right. What does that say? To a few of us that might be chemistry.
I was just going to say that's with like a chemical type of.
Periodic table. Oxygen.
It's oxygen, obviously, now that we have the 3. But put the same O and put the 2. Okay, so you got O2, but there's an O3. That O3, very few people ever heard or know about it.
And it is.
But the scientists do know about it. What do you call O3?
Ozone.
Huh? Who knows what it is?
Ozone?
Exactly, that's what it is.
Ozone.
That's ozone. O-Z-O-N-E.
Okay.
Ethers.
Okay, so can I interject in a second? With ozone, what ozone is, it's, because I have a machine at home that creates ozone.
Well, we live on a satellite, which is what this planet is, that creates ozone. That's what we see as the blue sky above us. We refer to it as the ozone layer.
Okay.
Okay? How is ozone created?
Through the thunderstorms.
Pretty close, but more accurately.
Okay, well that I don't know.
Okay. We refer to thunderstorms because thunderstorms make a lot of noise.
Yes.
What makes the noise?
Light.
Exactly.
Light.
It's lightning.
Yeah.
Lightning is high voltage electricity,
Negative ions.
right? And high voltage electricity produces ions, correct?
Yes.
So when in the presence of high voltage electricity, you can produce O3. And that's what a lightning does. If it were not for lightning, we would all be dead.
Right.
It's what keeps the air sterilized.
Crazy.
It's what deals with the smog
So that's
and all that
what I
stuff.
speak about with that machine. Like what it does is it sucks in the oxygen, puts it through the machine through an electrical current,
Yeah.
and it basically puts it into the water, and whatever bacteria, whatever dead entities in the water, it
Yeah.
electrocutes it,
Yeah.
and then pure water comes out. It's like, for instance, after a thunderstorm, you can smell the air, and it's that fresh smell.
It's the negative ions.
All the negative ions, everything has been destroyed in the air, and you get that new, fresh smell.
So you gotta
And that's exactly what you're talking. Yeah.
So you gotta love
So
the
what,
hurricane.
what I was saying to in terms of our breathing, a lot of you don't know my background. I try not. It's not important what I
No.
what it's the information is important,
Yeah.
right? O3 is something that we need to get acquainted with.
Yes.
It's what is going to give us a long life or a short life.
Yes.
Like every sword, it's got two edges.
Right.
You know, water, we need water, too much of it will kill you.
Teaspoon.
Right? Ozone is what we need,
But
too much of it will
kill
destroy
you.
you.
Yeah.
So there's always a question of balance
Yeah.
and how you handle it. There are many people today in hospitals, and many of us that are on the verge of probably heading in the hospital sometime. Better get acquainted with ozone, better understand its importance in our life, apart from our own breathing, because with the breathing exercise, if there was ozone in the air, you'd be coughing to death. You couldn't
Yes.
stay in here.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's necessary for your
The
survival.
lungs can't handle it.
Without oxygen, your body can't burn fats.
Yeah.
So when you do the breathing thing, that's what you're doing. You're introducing more oxygen to your body. And like a car without oxygen cannot burn fuel.
Yeah.
So the fat is your fuel. That's how we store fat in our body. Energy in our body is in the fat.
Yeah.
Right? When we consume sugars, it's treated. It's dealt with by the liver, but it's a way of getting that energy quickly. Especially when people need a quick boost, they will take something sweet because it takes less energy to break down the sugar. It's like ready-made,
Right.
as opposed to having to break down the fat into sugar, then into burning it up. Okay?
Yeah, like what I find with the yoga is when you learn those exercises, you get a pretty solid workout as opposed to going to the gym and running. Like I used to run on a treadmill and do
Yeah.
wind sprints on a treadmill, and
Yeah.
this way I was getting the same kind of workout without that stress on the body. You don't feel that like I wasn't sucking air. Like
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
sprint, you might understand
Yeah.
that when you're sucking air all the time, but it was
Yeah.
different experience and same result, better result, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's it's helping your mind too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So the whole thing again, coming back to the same question of O2 and O3, if you understand what O3 is, if we understand how we can apply it in our day-to-day lives, it would really have an impact on our lives in general, as giving us a very healthy life. And the breathing for me is an essential part of our meditation. Right? You can't meditate without breathing properly.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with oxygen or carbon dioxide. It has to do with focusing on breathing and how you breathe and amplifying those forces that is within us.
Yeah, you can channel where the breathing goes. Like if you've ever had an injury,
Yeah.
and you can feel that. Like
Yeah.
every time you breathe, it's like, right. So use your mind again, and if you had heavy issues, you just focus on whatever part of your body, and you
Yeah.
just channel that
Well,
energy
well,
directly
in
to
the
that point.
area of medicine, they refer to it as the placebo effect,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Mind over
A
matter.
lot of people do it, we do it
Yeah.
subconsciously, and we call it the placebo effect. But there's the nocebo effect too, where nothing happens, right? And what I'm saying is there's a lot of work to be done in the need for meditation as an essential enhancement to our lifestyle. But there's also a need for us to understand the need to keep the atmosphere that we live in as healthy as possible. One is by addressing the question of ozone in our homes, cleaning up the air. You remove a lot of filth in your air using an ozone machine.
Yes.
and they're not that expensive. And if every one of us can have one, and by the way, when you're using it, don't be in the room, okay? Leave the room.
No, but as I said, that's what you do. You channel the ozone through the water. Let the water take the brunt of what's coming out of it.
Yes, that is one.
Yeah, that's one way of
one way of
but
doing
yeah, you
it.
cannot be in the room because it gets rid of mold and stuff as well too. That was
Yes,
the
but it gets rid of a lot of stuff.
Yes.
It gets rid of a lot of stuff. Get rid of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you can't be in the room.
Bottling it through water is just another way of using it.
Yeah, it like
Okay.
it purifies and sanitizes. Like
It purifies,
fruits
and
all
you
that.
should drink the water when you're
Yes, definitely.
done. It will have a tremendous impact
Different.
in
Yes.
your health,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
In a case, as you mentioned earlier to the brother, if a child gets sick and you go into a hospital, you know, you're not thinking about herbs and what have you. Okay? But there's something that is very, our connection with the earth, right?
Prevention, really.
Prevention. We are not being taught how to survive without a doctor. We need to start learning
All that again.
how to live or survive when we have a health crisis.
Well, here's the thing. You ever notice whenever there's a crisis, how come doctors are never affected? Because in their mind, based on their Hippocratic oaths, they've already like willed themselves to always be well, always. Because I remember during the SARS, when SARS was up, I felt sick, man, and I think I was at 103, but I've always been able to, you know, from the time I was young, because whenever I got sick, I always got in trouble because my mom always assumed my jacket wasn't up or whatever. So even when I was sick, I would always will myself back off, whatever, get up, go to school because afraid of my mom. So I've always just
That's wondering.
yeah. So with SARS, like my temperature was at 103. I took myself on the train, went to the doctor, got turned away. And I was remembering something I read for a metaphysical magazine, and it was just about just seeing your white blood cells going to work for you, just visualizing it and just going hard on it. So I went home weak. I don't even know how I got home, but I got home, and then a few days later I started recovering, and just ever since then I've always been dialoguing with my mind, like regardless of what's happening to me, it's just go in and go hard. You know, but it really does work. Like, you know, a lot of people, we rely so much on our external, you know, someone to soothe us, someone, you know, but really and truly, as the great master teachers would tell us, the kingdom is within, you know, and once you see the kingdom in within, you come out, you know, you just manifest it out, you know, so it's one of those things where it's like, I've always observed doctors never. Ebola crisis.
Yeah.
Got a whole bunch of people, doctors, what do you call it, Doctors Without Borders. They're flying in or whatever, but people are flying out. Why are you going in?
Yeah.
So obviously there's something there, a mental aspect of it.
Well, it's more than mental. Again, I don't want to take.
No,
take away
it's good.
From the discussion here, but it's going to stimulate this discussion as well. I have no. There's a lot of stuff that I know, which I would quite willingly share, but there's a question of having a fundamental understanding of things before you get into things. I mean, as a teacher, you may know a lot of stuff, but if you're teaching in the 3rd grade, you don't want to teach 6th grade stuff. You try to get the student into the 4th grade. So you got to keep it at a 4th grade level.
It's order of operation.
I beg pardon?
No, I just said order of operation. Something has to come before.
Yeah, something has to come before. So even though you may know the 12th grade, your purpose of teaching has to be raise that student to the 4th grade, and at that level, when they're comfortable, they go to the next grade. There's a lot of stuff I throw out there. I can't expect everybody to like sync with it, but there are certain areas we can address on a very on a basis that is not difficult to understand, And one of them, again, is the need every so often for us to get away from this environment once in a while and go to where there's lots of trees and sunshine,
Water, running water.
running water,
Water's great.
and getting close to
Swimming outside.
running water and walking around barefoot. I know we're into the Nike thing and all that stuff, but that's killing us too.
That's right, you're supposed to walk barefoot.
We're supposed to
In
walk
nature.
barefoot.
Yeah.
Ground
It's called grounded.
I do sun gazing there. I used to walk.
Nah,
right.
yoga to tell you the same thing. Try and
Yeah.
do your exercises barefoot.
No, I'm just underscoring what we know as children. That's what we love to do, be barefoot, and we were all never sick.
And as you're
I
talking
think
about the various,
I think that's a cue for your announcement about the equinox.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Segue.
We're planning to have a vernal equinox springing forward in Hamilton at a place called, I think, Coots Point or around there. We'll solidify the location, but there's a waterfall there.
Oh man,
And there's trees.
that should be good.
There's a lot of waterfalls there.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's another
Around.
Yeah. You see, that's another thing. We take water for granted.
Yep.
That's another thing. It's what the brother was referring to is what called water structuring, structured water.
right.
There's been lots of experiments to show
The
that if
crystalline
you,
structure of the
yeah.
water in the microscope, right?
if you pray over water and your intent is right, it changes the water,
The molecular
the
structure.
molecular structure.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
very
they took that doctor out, it's
The
Japanese.
Japanese man, yeah.
Him and his right hand, the woman, the right hand.
Yeah.
yeah, but you can kill the man, but you can't kill the idea.
Too much information that
And
they
the
don't
books
want
are
out.
out there,
Yeah.
you know.
But he's got
It's
his
already
books
out
out there, yeah.
It's already out there. I mean, even to hold a glass of water, there's a way of, you have the glass and there's a hole in the center of your palm. He's quite right. And you vortex the water,
Vortex,
and
yeah.
it changes the flavor. I mean, there's evidence which I can't really pull up out the top of my head, where sailors who have been trapped out in the ocean, just imagine that it's fresh water, pick up that salt water and literally restructured it.
Wow.
And it wasn't salt, like to them it just
Right.
tasted fresh.
Right.
Right? So, and water is a living thing. When you think about it, 75% of your body is made up of water. I mean, most of your brain is water.
Yeah.
So it's got its own intelligence. And I've spoken to people who have worked in the water and sanitation industry. One guy who I had quite a long discussion with him. I showed him pictures where this Japanese doctor was showing the experiments that they do with water. He says, makes sense. I mean, he's never seen that
Right.
before, but he's a worker in the sewage and
Field,
water
yeah. So
business,
he-
and he's seen things.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and even by piping water through this, it picks up all the energy from
Yeah.
the
Yeah, it has a
negativity,
memory.
everything. It's
Yeah.
picked, and then
Water
you
has a
drinking that stuff, and it's
Yeah.
affecting you.
Reverse osmosis.
So coming back to the O3, how do we get it into our home and what do we do like on a daily basis with this O3?
Well, there's companies right here in Canada that build the machines, where and in the States where they have these high voltage generators, and it's a fan, and all they do is blow air over the miniature lightning, and it changes the air from O2 to O3.
I just checked Amazon. They have some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
eBay has the.
And it's oxygen is very reactive, and so the metal has to be something. It can't be iron. It will oxidize. Anything that plastics, it'll oxidize. It just break down. You have to use special,
Himalayan salt lamps. Hooked up to Himalayan salt lamps.
Yeah.
They produce negative ions in the home also.
Yeah.
So you could try those.
Yeah. They're not expensive. I mean,
Put it by your computer and stuff like that.
It used to be, but you can get them cheaper now.
Yeah, they're
There's a
like
couple
they're
eBay
like less than $100 if so much.
Yeah, you can get it way cheaper than that.
Yeah.
Three machines?
No, the Himalayan
Oh,
salt.
Himalayan.
Yeah, but even the machines,
I seen them for like I just checked Amazon quickly. I seen a few for like $150 and then
they're
some
cheaper.
for $400.
They're cheaper.
Yeah,
they're cheaper.
cheaper.
We're cheaper. If you know where to look, I can send you the information.
mass
You guys
email.
can look it up.
Yeah, I said,
You just
get
put
in
it in
contact
the
with
room,
me,
you put a
I'll
fan
give you the one I
that will
have.
blow the air over it,
Yeah.
And you'll notice the air will,
Over the machine.
no, the
No,
machine
it's
is
just
generating
I have
a high
like the
voltage
small
electrical
ones that I use
charge.
to ozonate like
And
fruits
as
and
the air
vegetables,
passes
take
through it,
off all
over
the-
it, it
all
converts
the
the
chemicals
oxygen
off
that is in
and
the air
it's surreal
to
because the chemicals
ozone, O3,
solidify
and
and
many
see it
other,
around
I mean, it's
Kind of
achieving
things everybody should have.
oxygen.
And we
and
breathe
then you just
it
then
in.
you wash it.
No, it cleans the air up. You know, when you're doing it, if you can be there, but you can't be close to it.
You can't be
It's different from.
So just don't be there.
Yeah, even the thing I just read, they said.
Because yes, because a lot of the environmental companies, as I said, with mold, what they do is they put it in a room in the middle of the room and they turn it on, and within about 5 hours, if you see mold on the wall, it's all gone.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Even like bugs, if you have bugs, like dead bugs and
Dead
stuff,
bugs,
like
yeah.
that, kills them.
Kills them.
It's
Yeah.
also you have to look at it from the perspective of like even Mother Nature. Like whenever there's like a thunderstorm or a tornado or whatever, it's cleaning up all the negative pollution and stuff like that. So when like for instance like the whole Katrina stuff and all those stuff happening, it's literally cleaning the environment. So whether like again how we say nature doesn't like discriminate. Like it takes any and everybody out. If you don't belong, if you're a nuisance on a physical level or not, it takes care of you. And it's the same thing as far as with those machines. Like you don't want to be in the room because you're not going to go in the middle of a hurricane. Let the hurricane do the cleanup, and then you go in. Right. So it's the same principle. Like you don't want to be around when a tornado. So don't go around the machine. Just let it do its thing.
And a lot of times, sisters, brothers, like myself, we get sinus conditions usually because there's a lot of crap in the air.
Exactly.
And after cleanup, you feel better.
Much better.
Especially if you're living in the houses around here, they're all always closed up, especially in the winter. And you bathe, and there's a lot of moisture in the walls. So there's like a fungus everywhere. And so you get these allergies, and it's in the carpet, and you got a lot of mites in the carpet, and people are always sick. I mean, and then when a sick person cannot be focused. I mean, when you're sick, you're sick. I mean, you can't even think straight. You come in here and you can't even follow what's going on because you're sick.
It's all about the purge.
I'm sorry, one quick question before you close up. Does anyone here, is anyone familiar with the galactical experiences that we're having here on Earth right now? Because there is this guy that I follow that I know, and he has been to Mars several times and back. And they are saying Mars and a lot of these planets that we heard about that man can't survive there, they're more populated with our ancestors than Earth itself. And a lot of them are here on Earth right now. A lot of our ancestors are back who live on different planets. And their reason for being here is what's going on Earth and the injustice, the killing, the hunger. They say nobody should, and their plan is to bring back paradise on Earth, and people shouldn't be getting evicted from their homes. All that is gonna stop. So what they have done, they already took over the monetary, the IRS in the States. They already took over the funds. There's a big seminar that's coming up. If you want a lot more information, it's Winston Trout, WSSIC.com. They have Ethan Fox interviews on these things, and the people that are here from space and different people, they are doing a great job and they are going to reform. And if you want more information, on March 18, 19, and 20 in Detroit, Michigan, there is a big seminar happening there, and we will be meeting maybe a few of these people. And
let's
this
hope
same
let's hope they fix the water problem.
They're talking big like that. Let's see them fix
They are
split.
showing how you can heal, how people can heal themselves, and we're not supposed to be sick.
Yeah, well, that's what we're
And
talking about right now.
So,
no, well, in regards to what you're saying, that there's a lot of changes happening. Well, once you start doing certain studies and you start to see what's happening around the world, like for instance, last year when the Pope came and did his tour of particular spots within this territory. Why was he doing it? Why only those particular areas that he went to? Those questions that you have to ask. In terms of when us Moors, when we had control of this territory, of this empire, those are the spots that he went to. That's the first thing. The next thing is now he's down in Mexico, right? Another part of our empire. Why is he down there?
He is being guided by some of the ancestors that came from Mars, because I heard they're working with him.
Is he more?
And they're working with other people.
He's from South America, I think.
Yeah, he's from South America. So, but absolutely, so this is what I'm saying. So, in regards to when you, like with the conferences and what's not that's coming up, that's what we've been talking about for a while. We've been saying these things, right? Yes, the conferences are coming up. Yes, the conferences are good. Not saying not to go, not saying to go. What I am saying is that in light, and you see the different activities happening, the different executive orders that are being signed by Obama.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
it is happening. It's just mainly it's for us to proclaim our nationality.
But one of the major things that they would like to do at this conference is to have like a group, like to break commercial karma and put us in the fifth dimension where everybody start reasoning at a fifth dimension instead of a two or one, and so we can ripple through and change make an impact upon our community, something like that.
That's fine. Well, as I said, we go back to, and as for myself, is who are we? Because that's what it comes down to.
Divine and national. Because if you check the demographics of all those people that are pushing these things, I bet you all of them have nationality.
Yeah. Are they telling
which is allowing them to vibrate on the frequency to even receive that somebody came from Mars and whatever. You're not telling no Negro, black, colored person out here that there's people on Mars and all that. They're not hearing that.
But our people are there too. Like one of the guy you have in one of the seminars, just like you, look just like you.
That's fine. Well, but this is what we're speaking on.
That's what I'm saying though.
That's what we're speaking on.
Yeah. Like if he's saying I'm black, but he's at the conference, I'm not hearing what he's saying.
No. Yeah.
He's not saying he's black. I'm saying he's one of the guys who would love to, train some of us to be able to impact our community.
Definitely.
Could I just
Yeah, quickly, and then so we can close up.
I'm speaking for me here, right? My outlook on whatever I do is to help build strength and trust among us.
Yes.
Before we start focusing on everybody else. And we digress. We often, instead of dealing with that trust issue and togetherness issue, we're always focused on what everybody else is doing and not focused on what we're doing. And what we're doing is avoiding dealing with us. And we need to get and understand that there's only two things that operate in the world, and that is I-O. That is I and the O. That is me and oxygen. Without that, I'm dead. And the sun and the natural environment. And that we are the third link, the missing piece. And nothing can exist without us. And we seem to think that everything else has to exist in order for we to for us to exist. Yeah. Well, in fact, it's the other way around. If it were not for us, none of this would exist. Close your eye and tell me if anything continues. If we all stay quiet and you close your eye, guess what happens? The world goes black. Simple.
On that note, Islam, session today. Just close out. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
To His holy prophet.
To His holy prophet.
Noble Juali.
Noble Juali.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Islam.
Islam. Great class.